What's going on, guys? So welcome to day 2 of the Coachman Brookstone Big Truck Big RV Concept Edition Solar Power Install. If you didn't catch video 1, you've missed out on quite a bit, so you definitely want to go back, take a look at that video. We have the crew out here from the NRVTA, which is the National RV Training Academy, and they are actually doing the installation. They're using this as kind of a training opportunity as well. They have one of their technicians that recently graduated from their solar school, and I think it's, what, a week-long class?
It's a week-long class, yeah.
Yep, so he's actually already a certified inspector, and he just went through their solar school, and they're kind of showing what he's able to do and backing him up, as well as recording and documenting the whole process, because it's not actually as difficult as I thought, but there are a lot of little things, a lot of little boxes you need to check while you're doing this to make sure you're doing it right. So today we are actually moving on to the solar panel section, as well as dropping the lines through, getting all the 12-volt stuff connected, because all the 110 was connected yesterday. So pretty much inside of this bay here, we got a bunch of stuff going on. We got our 2 batteries. These are the GoPower 250 amp hour batteries. These things are huge. These 2 batteries are the equivalent of 5 normal size 100 amp hour batteries. So they are just a massive setup. Behind this wall here, which I don't think it's fixed in place yet, we have the GoPower IC3000. That's going to be our inverter. We have our automatic transfer switch next to it, which you really can't see at this point. And all of our control panels are going to be positioned kind of right here in the opening, just so we have the ability to access them quickly. Very cool. Morning, guys.
Good morning.
So today's install is actually going to be the remaining portion of solar, right? So yesterday everything was essentially wired in place to be able to provide power to the main parts of the RV, but now there has to be a process in place to provide power to the actual batteries themselves to charge them, and that's where the solar panels are going up on top. We have the ability to add several more solar panels in the future if we'd want to, because we have the equivalent of a large solar package just without the cost of the additional solar panels up top. We have pretty much everything we need here to be able to support running the air conditioners, running, you know, everything inside of this RV for an extended period of time. And couple that with the generator that we have in the RV, the Cummins Onan 5500 LP generator. We have the ability to charge the batteries either off of shore power, off of our solar panels, and even off of the generator. When we were talking about how long we could boondock this unit, at least with power, I mean, we were anticipating you could probably go a couple of weeks if you have full propane tanks to manage your generator, as well as sun outside, and, you know, if you have access to shore power, of course, then you could charge it off of that. But very, very cool setup. Again, today is the solar panel installation day. They're going to run all the wires, and then all my little control pads and all the on-off switches and everything right there will be mounted right in this area. Okay, so team effort. They were able to fish all the lines up to the very top. You got Chris up there. Slippery up there?
A little bit.
Well, in the morning, you got a lot of condensation that forms on the roof of these things, and once that sun comes out, it'll dry it off, but you definitely want to be careful. I see you're wearing deck shoes, which is probably a really, really good thing.
That's the first thing for most inspections too, is getting up on the roof. So I bought these for that, and it's definitely helped out with solar too.
You know, in the marine industry, if you are walking around on a lot of decks on boats when they're wet, you'll just understand the value of wearing deck shoes. They make a lot of sense. How was the wire? Pretty easy to fish up there?
It actually was pretty easy. We only had to try twice.
Twice? Good deal.
So one side was a little too tight. We flipped to the other side. And there's plenty of room here to bring it right up.
Perfect. And you're going up through the vent, right?
Yeah, right next to the vent stack.
Okay.
Oh, that was such anticlimactic.
Really? So Todd just tossed probably one of the most important things that you can't forget to do whenever you're installing anything on the roof of your RV that's going to go through, and that is a sealant. What type of sealant did you use?
So this is AFCAT. It's actually a polyurea. So
okay.
We do have dichlor. The problem with dichlor is it dries and it shrinks, and so you have to go back up there and maintain it. On something like this, when you put a sealant down, you don't want it to shrink. You want it to stay. So this particular product doesn't shrink. It's 98% solid, so it goes on, it stays on, and that's what we want.
Yeah, you don't want things shrinking up there.
Right, and it sticks to this type of roof, EPDM, TPO, it sticks to all types. And so actually in the solar install, this is what I definitely recommend. You got a good grab?
Yeah.
All right, good.
Okay, so we've hopped up top now. These are the GoPower panels, 190 watt panels. And this is the panel that was installed on the RV when it was manufactured. You can see the 3 AC units up here. Everything seems to be going pretty good so far. And they're spacing these two far enough apart that if I ever decide to connect a wind guard connect antenna in the middle right there, I have the room for it. So this wind guard antenna right here is actually for the TVs and such, but the wind guard connect antenna that is designed for LTE service would actually be mounted right in between these two panels right here. You know, I'm a gambling man. How about we don't use any sealant?
No, there'll be definitely another video after this.
Okay, so we have both panels installed up top. Thumbs up. Right. Yep, everything's good.
Just want to clean up this wire. I'm gonna get a couple of zip ties so I can hide that underneath and it'll be clean. One little dab for the one wire that you'll see here and there, and then it'll be ready to connect later.
Outstanding. It's all about the shot, and Tony is demonstrating the equipment and techniques you use to get that shot.
It used to take talent. Now it just takes equipment.
Or a phone app.
Or a phone app, exactly.
All right, so we got some decisions to make here. Of course, we got these oblong batteries, and we're trying to figure out the taking up the least amount of footprint as possible. I understand that we want to, try and give you as much space as possible, but we've got a few constraints. This is one design here. It's a little bit further away from the inverter, which means the cables are going to be a little bit longer. But the problem that I have is if I move them over any further, you'll notice.
Yeah.
There's no room right there. And these being 60, 70 pounds each.
80.
Over time, 80 pounds each.
80 pounds.
It's going to create a problem. So I could either do that. The problem, if I put two of them together, I'm not sure that I save a lot of space, but I could spin them this way. And now, when I see I got this harness next to, my positive cable over here, and I really don't want to do that.
What if we put a false wall right there?
We could put a false wall, what they wanted to talk to you about. I could set this out, put a false wall up there, but, with that, we've only got so much room because, of course,
we got our plumbing going on.
It looks like you do have a shut-off valve over to, looks like, here, what is this, your bathroom?
Outside kitchen.
Kitchen, okay. Yeah. But if I turn them this way, I can go ahead and gain that space as much as possible, back there. We can still put that false wall in there, bracket around there. Now this is clear of all those wires, and it's actually closer to the wall because when we put up our battery disconnect, again, that's less wire, less cable I would use.
I got an idea.
Okay.
You see this piece of lumber right here?
Uh-huh.
We could move that back maybe. Well, we have that outside AC wire right there, but we could route that a little bit, right? We just move it back a little bit, move that maybe 4 inches back.
Uh-huh.
We bring the wall in and we have the batteries actually exposed.
We could do that as well.
Because it's not like I'm going to have anything that's going to be up against it. And we're going to be putting a slide-out tray inside here anyways. Right. So the slide-out tray is going to hold most of everything. The batteries would be on this side of the false wall. Uh-huh. It would give it a little bit more stability in terms of movement, move it away from the harness right there. What do you think about that? Is that...
Okay, so with that, either you're going to have your battery cables going up and over, or we're going to punch through the wall, which means that's kind of a more permanent solution.
Yeah, because anytime you want to take the wall down, you're going to have to move the batteries.
Yeah.
That's true. All right, so we have Todd with the NRVTA. I'm getting used to these acronyms, and you guys have to get used to the BTBRV acronym, so...
I'm already there.
Yeah, you're there already. And of course, we got all this other hidden microphone setup and everything going on, and we got Tony over here recording this as well. But the question that I was going to ask, and this is not really a question, more of a conversational piece. Right. When you look at how everything's wired in there, when you look at where equipment's positioned, and then you go to some other YouTube channel and you see how neat and tidy and how everything looks just so well thought out and planned. You have wires coming through boards. I used to be a 12-volt guy back in the past where whenever you wired amplifiers, you had plexiglass, you had backlighting, you had actuators to show things off. But then you removed all that stuff and you saw a mess of wires that were hard to access for anybody who needed to work on it. So the question here is, and we've already discussed this, but with the lack of focus on cosmetics, with us not specifically saying how do we make this look best, instead how do we make this most practical and functional, how do you feel about that from, I guess, an installer's perspective?
Usually what we see, exactly, we see that wall that's there, but from a tech perspective, I'm always looking behind it, because yes, you may have a pretty solar system, inverter, beautiful wall, but what happens whenever you got your converter that's back there, you got everything else that you have to get to. What if you have a leak in your holding tank up top, right? You have all this stuff there. Now I got to break down all that solar to get to it. And so it's a mix. There's give and take in everything that we do. So location of the batteries, is the floor, stable enough where we want those? Yes, we can gain a little bit more room even for storage. But what are we giving up when we do that? So it's a conversation that we have to have with the owner and say, look, we'd like to have it here. I think you'd like to have it here, but as a practical matter, it may not work. So there's a bunch of give and take here. And you want to look at it and you want to get it set up, because I'm not the last guy that's going to be in here. And I don't want to do a disservice to a tech that has to come out or something and then charge even longer labor hours to try and take it apart. And who knows if he knows how to.
Yeah. And a conversation I had with Chris earlier was, where do we put the inverter? The inverter weighs upwards of 50 plus pounds. Yeah. And a lot of folks, they'll mount it to the interior wall in the basement. And you have to realize that you have generally an MDF piece of wood that is securing 50 plus pounds of weight using screws and bolts, and that could be the failure point at that. Right. Do you really want a 50 plus pound inverter breaking off the wall and falling? The most stable place for it is going to be on the floor, right? Mounted to the floor. It's going to have less likelihood of shifting or shearing off or causing damage like that. So again, just like Todd said, the entire focus of this install is the everyman's install. It's the practical install. Plus the amount of labor that goes into making everything look really pretty can take significantly longer, and it can make it cost a lot more. If you have technicians that are charging $100+ per hour to be out here to install this kind of stuff, well, if they have to spend an extra 6 to 7 hours just to make it look pretty, well, you're not just paying them for that. You're paying any other technician that has to come back and work on it the cost and time to remove all of that, so they can get to where they need to get and then reinstall everything back to where it was.
And hopefully they can.
And hopefully they can. So yeah, that's something that I felt was really important we focused on, because when you guys look at this, you're going to be like, man, I saw a solar install from XYZ YouTube channel. The thing looked amazing. It had lights. It had all the wires just sticking out enough to connect to batteries. All of the buses were just barely visible. Everything was cut to the exact length. And we're going to make sure the wires are cut to the right length. You don't want excessive lengths of wire. But what you don't want to do is, I don't say you don't want to do it. You want to understand the trade-off. If you're focusing purely on cosmetics, then you may actually be making things a little bit difficult in the future.
Right. And of course with RVs, we know stuff's going to break down. So let's make it to where we can still get to everything else.
Absolutely. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay, so Chris has called me over. We've got a couple more decisions to make. What do we got?
All right, so now we're looking at the end result, kind of driving what we do next. We've talked about your remotes, both your inverter remote and your solar controller remote, as well as our the battery shutoff switch, and then the PV disconnect for the solar panels, so that you can actually turn them off. Because of some of your requirements, we wanted to make sure that we can access or take care of those, as well as provide you access all the time. So your first thing is that you want to maintain, the wall is going to come back into place, but you want to be able to open it and be able to service it, like
exactly
we just talked about. So not a lot of wires connected to this wall. Now, balance that with, we know what's coming in here next is going to be another cargo tray.
Correct, another slider tray in here.
So you're not going to be opening this wall. So really, this is the only wall that's going to need to be open and closed, right?
Yes, sir.
So now, if we also balance that with inside, typically that's where you'll put an inverter remote and maybe the solar controller remote. We could do that, but you've already told us that there's so much stuff inside of that wall right now that you're kind of concerned about the pressure inside of it.
Correct.
So what we can do is we can put the PV disconnect and the battery disconnect either up here, directly above, so you can still access these without opening this wall. We can also put them on this panel that you're not.
Since that panel is going to be static.
This is going to be static. We could actually put all the remotes, your disconnect, and your battery disconnect and your PV disconnect. Just line them straight down this guy. My
challenge with that will be, that is going to be easy and great to access if my tray is empty, or if I have to pull my tray out to access it.
Sure.
But if I have like my Anderson jack blocks on there, if I have some of my large, storage containers on there, that might not be practical. And if something shifts, it could accidentally hit that or damage that. That would be my only concern.
Okay, so then we go back up.
I'd say that going up would be the best bet.
Okay.
That would be my best bet. Or even if you have the flexibility to put him on this wall by running the wires across the top here, and if we can position him over here, that might work out real well too. And if anything would normally have to be recessed, we might be able to even frame it out slightly.
Absolutely. And that's probably what we're going to end up doing, like with your inverter remote.
Yeah.
Because it does require some recessing.
Yeah, if we could put it right here, I think like above the fire extinguisher, this area right here.
So I think we're going to have a balance here. Like your battery disconnect is going to have to be in this area due to the length of 4-aught cable that we have.
And the battery disconnect, yeah, if we can mount it high, like up here.
Sure.
I mean, that might not be that bad of a solution. Or is the battery oh, so it's going to be similar to the battery disconnect I have on that side, right? It's basically just going to kill all 12 volts coming from the batteries.
A-firm.
Okay.
Now, when we go, if all we did was disconnects, we could put the disconnects right here on this inside wall. And then we could run the remotes over here.
Are we going to have any room on this inside wall once the batteries are mounted, though?
Yeah, right here along the side.
You want to do that?
It's fine with me.
Let's do that.
Okay.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Disconnects will be on this side.
Yep.
Your remotes will be over here.
Perfect. Yeah, I think that's perfect. Man, that was easy. That was painless.
Yep.
Thank you.
Well, right now we're getting the board ready for mounting the remotes that are going to be in there. So as you can see, I've kind of pre-marked where the inverter controller is going to be. This up here is actually just a little notch where the MPPT controller is.
Gotcha.
And then the bottom is where the battery monitor is going to be. So just cutting out the holes right now, and then we're actually going to cover it up with some additional carpeting that we have to make it look all nice, and then we'll mount the actual remotes in there. We already have the cables ran.
Yeah.
So from that point, it'll be just putting some framing behind this, hooking everything up, and then attaching it on the framing.
Looks good.
And it'll look real clean.
Outstanding. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
He is doing such a good job over there. I like the upholstery job. All right, Chris, so it looks like we're at the home stretch at least. Seems like almost everything's in place. Next step, of course, now that we've framed the battery in place, and it looks like we've kind of positioned everything where it's going to go.
Yep.
I guess it's just connecting the batteries, right?
It is. Already got the inverter wired to a bus bar, wired to the shunt, which is actually going to count the electrons and tell you kind of what the state of charge is for your batteries. And then on the positive side, we've already come from the inverter to our 400 amp T class fuse, or class T fuse, that goes into our shut-off switch. So the last bit here actually is connecting the batteries.
And then after the batteries comes the solar panels, right?
Affirm. We'll actually be connecting from the MPPT controller into the battery as well, but we have not tied the solar panels in up top, but that's the last bit. Once we do our first test on the AC side and the DC side, we'll make sure that everything is functional, and then we program our solar controller. And then we'll do the last bit, which is going up top and connecting the solar panels, and then turning on our PV shutoff switch right here, which will actually energize it and let the electrons flow down.
Perfect. Sounds good. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
So it's a little hot out here, and I'm sure we're all ready to wrap this solar project up. We've been out here for 2 days, and I think I've been probably doing the most work out of everyone here, and I just want to be recognized for that. No, I'm kidding. These guys are badass. I mean, honestly, they've been really, really busting their butt out here in this hot Texas sun. So Chris just climbed back on the roof. This is like his 112th trip up there. He connected the solar panels. So now we're getting power fed from the panels into the system. Do we kind of want to see what happens here? He's going to flip the switch for the first time.
They're on.
Here's all of
Solar
the
now
displays.
Jumped to 43 volts.
There we go.
And then you can see the amp starting to kick up. You can see how the solar's going up and down. We just had a cloud roll over.
Yep.
So it dropped now. Cloud goes away. Voltage is going back up and the amps are going back up.
Very, very good.
So it's in bulk charging right now, flowing right into your batteries.
Perfect. What else do we have going on here?
So the next one you have is your inverter / charger.
Okay.
And that's kind of the heart of the system. So it's telling you right now that it has 13.3 volts in the battery itself because it's on DC. We don't have AC on yet.
Got it.
It is using some power right now. So something's on. You said your security system or something like that was probably on right now.
Probably what it is.
So that's what's pulling those 2 amps.
Okay.
We did turn off the fridge because we did find where that was using a lot of power right away.
Okay.
So right now it's just inverting for 2.5 amps, and we know it's good on the DC side.
Okay, so we have all of our folks here from the NRVTA, as well as the gentleman who installed everything, Chris. And what we're doing now is just having a conversation about how the system works, because it's working differently than how I originally thought based on a few things that we discovered. And some of them can actually be considered benefits.
So what we've done is basically allowed the system that was in there to stay, and then we have we have our 120 inverter system over here for the whole house, which serves as a backup to your primary system. The great thing is, for your generator, well, that takes 12 volts to get it started. Should you ever have a problem with your lithium and your lithium dies, you'd want to start your generator. Having a system set up like this, if there's a problem, if for whatever reason your state of charging lithium batteries are gone, you still have a method to go ahead and start your generator with a lead acid battery. Easier for you to go ahead and back up, 7-pin connector. You can still start the generator with a 7-pin connector. If we were to bypass that and just use the lithium batteries, if for whatever reason we had a catastrophic failure with the lithium batteries, you'd have to find some creative ways to go ahead and get that generator started.
Yeah, so I have redundancy upon redundancy. Now I have like 3 layers of redundancy. One the generator, one that battery, and then one this battery pack. And what I was saying earlier is that benefit that I was talking about at the end of the day is the fact that you're right. If you have an RV and your house or your main batteries are dead, you can't hitch up to your vehicle sometimes because you can't operate your landing gear. You can't pull your slides and you can't do things like that, especially on newer trucks that don't feed power through the 7-way until you've initiated the brake at a certain speed. So on my setup right now, if these batteries are completely dead, my front battery should probably almost be completely full considering how it's receiving its charge.
Right.
And we're going to actually start turning things on and off, and we are going to check for various things that are going on from a heat perspective. Chris, what are you going to do as we go inside and we start flipping switches?
So obviously the first thing I'm going to do is turn on the inverter, which is just right here. And that's going to go ahead and initialize the IC3000 so it can start doing what it needs to do to provide whole house power via the inverter. I don't want the charger on right now, so I'm going to turn it off. That's the charger function of the IC3000. So now it is set, the inverter's running, and it should be able to provide power for anything that you need inside up to 3,000 watts. So as you go inside and start turning things on, what I'm going to be doing is using this FLIR through my phone and being able to actually pinpoint all of the connections and make sure they don't start heating up.
Got it.
Because the heat is the one thing that we're worried about when we talk about all the connections, especially with a lot of amperage flowing through these cables.
Okay, so we are not going to be out here monitoring this, but we'll be listening for you if you want us to come out and look at something or if you think there's something concerning.
Okay, I can actually video this while I'm doing it and take screenshots as well. So.
All right, so I am going inside of the 5th wheel. I'm going to come right up here. Right off the bat, I can tell we have power because the refrigerator light's on and the microwave is on. So we have power. That's a good thing. We also have bug spray because there's a lot of bugs out here. We have 12 volt, which is feeding the lights up here, and that's all coming through the converter. So this is our air conditioning system. It's 3 ACs that are all controlled through here. The first AC back here is zone 1, this is zone 2, and zone 3 is up there. So I am going to go to zone 2, which is the one I usually turn on when I'm out here, and I'm going to switch it to air conditioning now. So I'm going to turn it from off. Actually, I have to go back to it, so it lets me select it. I'm going to go to cool, make sure the rest of these are off. That's off. Okay, so my middle AC unit, zone 2, is now set for cool. Yes, it is really 97 degrees in here. We're not kidding you, it is hot. All right, so the fan is kicked on. Give it a couple seconds and then we should hear the compressor kick in. You may not hear it, but if I hear it, I'll let you know. There we go. Not sure if you heard that. The compressor just kicked on. It's on auto. I'm going to drop the temperature down. I can put it on 82 because it's so hot that it's not ever going to reach 82 right now.
So the compressor should already kick on.
The compressor had already kicked on about 20 seconds ago.
Okay.
So we are running 1 AC completely off of the batteries, which is really, really cool.
Yep.
All right, so what if I want to kick the other ones on? Should I try?
It'll be close. Sometimes you can do it, just depending on how hot it is outside. Because if you have the soft starts on there, if these are 15,000 BTUs or 13.5, you might get away with it, because let's say if one's only pulling 14 amps, the other one should only pull roughly around 14. You add those two up, we're pretty close to 3,000, maybe a little over.
But then you really can't run anything else at that point, because everything will shut it down. So
one AC, roughly we'll say between 14 and 17 amps. You got 500 amp hours. You're looking at right about 4.5 hours, depending on the cycle time. If the air conditioner runs for 40 minutes out of a 60-minute day, trying to get everything out, then we may look at 5.5 hours. If we're in a little bit cooler temperatures, like 90 degrees, you've already got the humidity out, it may push 6. Now we've got 500 watts coming in from, 400 watts coming in from the roof right now, so that also helps out.
Okay, so what would happen at this point if we just kicked on the generator in the state that we're currently in?
So what'll happen on the generator is that'll just serve as a shore power. It'll go through the automatic transfer switch. The inverter will see it as shore power and stop inverting, and then send over the voltage through your generator. Now here's the cool thing. If a generator is only 5,000 watts, the inverter is also a hybrid. So let's say with your generator now, it's going to be hard for you to run 2 ACs on a hot day. With the generator on, the inverter on leg 1 will actually add up to 3,000 watts. So that way, if one of your air conditioners is on, say, leg 2, this one can also run leg 1 and 2 and maybe turn on your microwave.
Oh, very cool. So it's going to give me the ability to use both solar and the generator simultaneously to give me even more power capability, because I can run all 3 ACs off my generator right now, which is really nice. So, but then running the microwave, running a vacuum cleaner, something like that, or a hair dryer, something my wife might use. People don't realize hair dryers can be up to like 1,800 watts. It's a lot of power. So so now we have the ability to just run more, because we're pulling from the battery bank when we need to, as well as shore power when we need to, or the generator when we need to.
Right, it just opens up a lot more possibilities, makes it a little bit easier for you to RV. It's just, you can't do it forever. You only got so many batteries. But, again, if it gives you 4 or 5 hours, man, what does that do for you?
Oh, you're right. So I guess the next step now is, should we shut off the AC? Because I know when the transfer switch takes place, there's a brief second there where it needs to switch over, and it's not good on compressors to do that.
Exactly.
So we're going to kill the AC right now, then we're going to crank on the generator, right? Is that our next step?
Yep, we'll do that. Make sure we got a pass through going through our inverter. Come back in, turn that on. We'll see if the inverter's helping out in any way, and we'll go from there.
Sounds good. Okay, so next we are going to start up the generator, and we're going to see how it switches over power and how it manages power coming from the generator as well. Got to open up my propane can. Okay, so I got propane running. I'm going to go ahead and light up the generator, okay?
Okay.
Okay. So we got the generator running now. Okay, so they informed me we should be able to light up all 3 ACs, because the system should be passing the actual power through from the generator using the IC3000 to the RV. So we are going to flip on all 3 air conditioning units right now. I want to put it on cool, zone 1. Let's put it on automatic. Now it's set for 73. I'll raise that one up to 78. I want to change to zone 2. Gonna put this one on once the first one kicks on. I don't want to try to start all 3 at the same time. So once the first AC kicks on over here, which it should do any minute now, there we go. Give it about 10 seconds and you'll hear it click, and that's the compressor kicking on. And there we go. So we have 1 AC going. So this one should kick on here in a second. Okay, so the fan kicked on. Now the compressor should kick on momentarily. Okay, now the second one is on as well. Now we're going to switch to zone 3. And we're going to turn this one on auto as well. So it'll take a second. Okay, fans on. All right, so third AC just kicked on. We have the compressors on all 3 units running. They're on auto, but the fans are on high right now because it's so hot outside. All 3 AC units running. And this is exactly how it should be running because it's pulling power directly off the generator. The test here is that the inverter was allowing the power to pass through it from the generator without preventing it or without shutting the system down. Okay, so we're in the RV. We have all 3 ACs running, the refrigerator's running, and the microwave is also running. So this specific inverter actually has an assist function, and that assist function gives you the ability to provide that extra current you might need to power high current appliances like a microwave in addition to what the generator could run. So traditionally the generator, which is powering all 3 ACs, is just about tapped out. Between the ACs and the refrigerator, you're pulling quite a bit of current. So you throw a 1,000-watt microwave into the mix, all of a sudden you have a lot more power being pulled on the system. And to have a hybrid inverter that knows how to make up for that by using the battery power to kind of boost the system up a bit, that's pretty awesome. So yeah, everything's working really well. This is just really, really phenomenal. And it's dramatically getting cooler in here, isn't it?
Oh, so much better.
Okay, so the generator's running perfectly. We got all the ACs running and we shut all that down so we can move on to the next part of that, which is leaving the RV. And it's in storage now. I don't want anything running. I just want to get to a point to where I can leave, and I know I don't have any type of a parasitic draw coming off the batteries, and we're in a position to where we can take off. So Chris, what do we need to do?
Well, the first thing we need to do is turn off the inverter. You can't turn it off until shore power or generator power is gone. So now that it is, first thing I'm going to do is turn off the charger, and it asks you charger off. Yes, you just hit enter, and then you're going to see the charger light go away. And then I'm going to turn the inverter off.
Okay, so real quick, charger doesn't have anything to do with solar charging, right?
No, this is your charger portion of the inverter.
Got it. Okay.
So that inverter charger charges as well, up to 125 amps. So it'll put it out pretty quick, and that's how you're charging your lithium batteries.
And that's why those batteries charge in like 4 hours, 3 or 4 hours, right? Simply because of the amount of power this can provide them.
Well, a typical 100 amp hour battery, yeah, they'll definitely go a lot faster. Yours,
yeah, a little bit longer. Yeah.
But they were all pretty full anyway. So now we've turned off the inverter.
Okay.
At which point now it's not drawing anything out of your batteries. This inverter is not.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yep.
And then if you turn around,
got my power disconnect over here.
You got your power disconnect.
Let me move this stuff out of the way because I set it over here and it looks really bad having a bunch of propane cans next to a bunch of electricity. But okay, so just disconnect this. Go ahead and shut that off.
If you're going to shut it off and prevent parasitic draw. However, in your case, the way that we've wired this up, you shouldn't have any parasitic draw coming out of these batteries.
Okay, got it.
You can still turn it off. It's not going to do anything for you or against you, quite honestly.
Okay.
Because the solar is actually going right into the battery, the way that we have it connected.
And because whenever I move this back to my covered spot with power, when I plug into shore power, that'll also be charging the batteries anyways, and I don't have to worry about the parasitic draw?
Correct.
Okay.
So you can leave that on and it's fine.
Now that we've shut this off, the inverter off, if I choose to leave this on over here, my power disconnect over here, and I turn that off, so these two are off, that one goes to my main house battery up here, the main battery that came with the RV. This right here goes to the inverter, which essentially pulls off of these batteries down here. And when the inverter and all this shuts off, it's also going to kill the AC power that was going to the inverter that came with the RV. I shouldn't have any current going to that inverter anymore. Once I flip that power disconnect off, I will have shut down all the power to the RV.
Absolutely.
Right? Okay, so that's what I want to check for. So we got this shut off.
Yep.
Now, if you don't mind, can you shut that power disconnect off?
You bet.
And I'm going to go inside of the RV. I'm just going to open up the refrigerator, try to turn lights on and off, and just see what happens.
Okay.
Okay, so now I am inside. No lights are coming on. That is a good thing. Refrigerator is shut down. There's no power. So we're in good shape now. And if we wanted, we could simply turn the inverter on and we'd have full house power again. So we are completely safe against parasitic draws at this point, at least any major ones. All right, we have no power inside. Awesome. I mean, it really turned out great. Like he said, the best systems he likes are the systems that you can't see. And you can't see anything. It's all covered up. You remove all these panels, sure, you're going to see the inverter, you're going to see the batteries and all that. But it's really no different than looking behind the panel of those super clean, awesome installed units and seeing the mess of wire that's just hidden behind the panels.
Exactly.
In my case, it's all out of sight, and we used the reclaimed area that I just gave up for all of this, which I'm completely fine with. So now we have all this area and space back here that's hidden, but it contains a vital part of the RV and how it functions now, which is super cool. And we have all our displays right here. I think that is also really nice. Very convenient. You just open this hatch when you get to where you're going, flip the thing on, and I think we're in good shape.
Yep.
Guys, I really appreciate it. These guys are super awesome. If you are wanting to become a technician in the RV industry and you want to get certified, because that's really the standard that companies look for, that people want to hear that you're certified at doing it. Last thing you want is someone coming by your home fixing your AC and then finding out they don't know what they're doing, right? So you guys offer courses that get everyone up to speed, trained, and doing it the right way. And I think that's what's important. That's what people look for. NRVTA is the acronym for National RV Trading Academy. I sometimes think Technical Academy, but interchangeable maybe.
Yep.
So we're actually probably going to do some future collaborations. They have a lot of really great content. They also have a YouTube page with some really good content. They throw some humor into it. They do a lot of things to keep you excited. This guy right here works probably every evening editing down videos and doing all that, and he does a great job. You saw during this whole process just the level of professionalism they take in just filming what they do, so imagine the stuff that they actually train you on. Anyways, guys, I'll put a link to them as well as GoPower and etrailer in the description of this video. You guys came out and got soaking wet. You always wear clothes that you can't tell that you're even sweating in. That's just, he didn't sweat at all. He's used to this weather, right?
I do too.
Yeah.
It's kind of the new tie-dye.
Yeah, exactly. He just got rained on all day. So, but guys, I really appreciate it.
JD, we appreciate it.
No, not a problem. Big shout out.
It's
Yep.
fun. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Thanks again. Guys, if you haven't had a chance, please take a moment, check them out. They have all sorts of really great content on their YouTube channel. And yeah, we'll bring you back some more, and we'll definitely put this system through the test to see if it does what we need it to do. Thanks again. We'll talk to you again soon.